Have you ever noticed that some of the most perceptive, most emotionally tuned in people have these really small social circles? It just seems like a paradox, doesn't it? Well, today we're going to dig right into why that is, and trust me, the answer is probably not what you're thinking. Yeah, this is the big question, right? Why do some of the most perceptive people seem to have the fewest friends? You see someone who just gets people on a really deep level, but then you also see them alone a lot. So what's the deal? Is it their choice? Is it some kind of flaw? Or is there something totally different going on beneath the surface? Okay, in this quote, it just nails the biggest misunderstanding. Most people assume, oh, they must not have great social skills. But according to the source material we're looking at today, that's not just wrong, it's completely backwards. We're not talking about a lack of skill here. We're talking about a totally different kind of skill. So, first things first, we've got to completely reframe this. Forget the whole idea of a skill deficit. We need to start thinking about it as a heightened awareness. And that one little shift, it changes everything. So, what does this heightened awareness even mean in practice? Well, for an empath, a conversation is so much more than just words. Their brain is on overdrive processing all this extra data. They catch the tiniest shift in someone's tone of voice, they see those micro expressions that flash across a face in a split second. They can literally feel the gap between what someone is saying and what they're actually feeling. They even notice what's not being said. It's like they're getting a whole other layer of information that most people miss. And because of all that, what looks like withdrawal to us on the outside is actually something totally different on the inside. It's not isolation, it's filtration. It's not them pulling away, it's them being incredibly discerning. See, they're not running away from people. They're actively filtering for genuine connection. It's a choice, a very deliberate one, not some kind of social mistake. But here's the thing. This level of perception, it's not just some mental trick. It comes with a real physical cost, especially when they're stuck in conversations that feel shallow or, well, fake. And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? An empath would rather have truth than company. For a lot of us, just having people around is the goal. But for an empath, the goal is authenticity. It's truth. They are more than willing to trade a room full of shallow company for one single real connection, even if that means spending a lot more time by themselves. Now, you've probably heard this term absorbing energy. And yeah, it can sound a little out there, but it's actually describing a real physiological thing. An empath's nervous system is just wired differently. It's super responsive. So it literally starts to mirror the emotional state of whoever they're with. So if you're standing next to someone who's super anxious or angry, an empath's own body starts to feel that anxiety and anger. It's intense. So let's break down how this leads to burnout. Step 1. They perceive everything, all those little cues we mentioned earlier. Step 2, their body just automatically mirrors that state. It's not a choice. And then step 3, the result is this deep, profound exhaustion. We're not talking about just being a little tired after a party. This is a whole different level of energetic drain. I mean, just look at this drop in energy. This is what one single draining interaction can do. One conversation with someone who's all over the place emotionally, or super negative, or just not being real, and boom, their battery goes from nearly full to almost empty. This isn't an exaggeration. It's a real energetic cost that leaves them totally wiped out. Okay, so after going through this enough times, the empath reaches a critical turning point. It's inevitable. They start to see this really painful pattern emerge. They offer so much understanding to others, but almost never get it back. And this is where their whole mindset starts to shift. The question in their head is no longer, how can I make this relationship work, or how do I keep this person happy? No, a new question takes over. What is this interaction actually costing me? That's a game changer. It's a move from feeling obligated to everyone else to finally preserving their own well-being. And once they start asking that question, suddenly they see the red flags everywhere. You know the ones. The friends who only call when they have a crisis. The people who say, I'm sorry, but never actually change their behavior. They start to realize that their empathy is being treated like a public utility, a resource to be tapped, not a bridge to a two-way connection. They're the ones always carrying all the emotional baggage. And this all leads to a really profound and honestly often painful realization. This quote just hits so hard. Empathy without boundaries isn't kindness, it's self-abandonment. Wow. Realizing that constantly giving your energy away without protecting yourself isn't noble, it's actually abandoning your own needs. And that right there is the moment that everything starts to change. So after that big aha moment, what's next? Well, what happens is something I like to call the great recalibration. They start to consciously, actively redesign their entire social world. And the new blueprint isn't based on what other people want from them. It's based on one thing: what actually brings them a sense of inner peace. And we need to be really clear about this. This isn't about the empath suddenly becoming a cold or uncaring person. Not at all. Think of it as a boundary correction. They're shifting from this default automatic yes to everything and everyone to a much more thoughtful, selective yes. They stop just accommodating everyone and start choosing with real intention. And this really gets to the core of what's driving them. For a lot of people, the goal of social interaction is to get approval from others, to be accepted. But for the empath who's gone through this shift, the goal is totally different. It's about internal coherence. It's about peace. Making sure their inner world and their outer world are in sync, that becomes the most important thing. So what's the end result of all this? What does their world look like now? Well, to an outsider, it might look smaller, but from their perspective, it's never been richer. It's more stable. It's way more authentic. Their world hasn't been emptied out. It's been refined, like gold. Their new social circle, it's all about quality over quantity. We're talking fewer people, but way more stability. Less performing for others and more just being authentic. You get less misunderstanding and more of this beautiful mutual awareness. You can even just be silent with these people and it's not awkward. The connection is just there. It doesn't need constant work. And if you look at their new priorities, it's so clear. Internal peace is now the big one. It's the 60% chunk right there. That's the sun that everything else orbits around. Sure, authentic connections and feeling aligned are still super important, but now they're judged by a new standard. Do they support that core goal of inner peace? And really, in the end, it all comes down to this one simple but incredibly powerful question. This becomes their ultimate filter for everything. Every invitation they get, every relationship they maintain. It's no longer about, is this person good or bad? It's simply, does this contribute to my peace or does it disrupt it? So the next time you see that incredibly perceptive person who has just a few close friends, maybe think about this. They haven't failed at being social. Not at all. They've actually succeeded at something way, way harder and honestly more valuable. They've succeeded at protecting their own peace. They're not looking for a bigger crowd. They're curating a better state of mind.